If I were stranded on a desert island with only my serger and 3 extra presser feet, these are the ones I'd take because I use them for so much more than what they were actually designed for. Hi Serger Bees, I'm Sookie, your serger coach, here to help you build confidence with your serger one stitch at a time. And by the time this video is over, you'll know why. These are my absolute go-to feet, and you'll pick up some of my best tips for using them so you can finally feel ready to tackle projects that you might have been avoiding. Before we dive in, just a quick note. Presser feet aren't interchangeable, even within the same brand. I'll be showing mine on the Bernina L460 and the L890. And while yours might look a little different or go by a different name, the stitching goal is always the same. Let's start with the gathering foot, sometimes called the ruffling foot. Mine look a little different from each other, but both have the same key feature, a slot where the fabric slides in. If you're digging through your accessories, look for something that resembles this. There are 2 main ways to use it. For both, set your serger up for a 3 or 4 thread overlock, stitch length at 4, and the differential feed at 2. I'm using a 4 thread overlock today with all the tensions set to 4. And if you're wondering what the difference between those 2 stitches are, I have an entire video dedicated to that. I'll include the link in the description below. The first way to use this is super simple. You just place a single layer of fabric right side up under the foot. As you stitch, it gathers the fabric for you. Just keep an eye on your edge since the blade is trimming as you go. The second way is where the foot really shines. You slide a second piece of fabric through the slot, right side down, while the bottom layer goes under the foot, right side up. As you serge, the bottom fabric gathers while the top stays flat. And both layers get stitched together in one step. With these settings and a light to medium weight fabric, you'll get about a 2-to-1 gather ratio. So 20 inches of fabric underneath will gather into about 10 inches on the top. Now let me give you a few little pro tips for this foot. When you first get it, the foot might look really flat, which means your gathers won't be as full. You can gently bend the metal bar out just a touch to give it more range. Just don't go too far. You don't want it to break. When you're gathering onto a flat layer, start by stitching about a 1/2 inch with just the gathering layer. Then stop with your needle down. Slide the flat piece into the slot and keep going. If your serger has a needle down feature, this is the perfect time to use it. Also, keep an eye on your seam allowance. I like to cut the flat layer about a 1/4 inch more narrow so it stays inside the blade. That way it doesn't get trimmed off and it's easier to line everything up. And here's a fun one. If you gather on both sides of the fabric, you get ruching instead of just gathers. I actually teach this technique in my Caroline Christmas Serger stocking project. This next foot is so underused, and I think the name is part of the problem. Mine are called the blind stitch foot, but you might see it labeled as the invisible foot or the blind hem foot. It was originally designed for blind hems, like you'd see at the bottom of a knit shirt. On my L460, I actually have 2 versions, a 0.5 millimeter for light to medium weight fabrics and a 1 millimeter for heavier fabrics. They look nearly identical, but the guide is slightly different. On my L890, there's just one standard version. At the top of the foot is a screw that lets you adjust the guide left or right. For blind hemming, you position the fold of the fabric right against the guide so it just catches under the needle. You can team this foot with a 2 or 3 thread flat lock, and when you open it up, the seam lays beautifully flat. If you want to dive deeper into flat lock stitches, I've got an entire video just for that, and I'll link it in the description below. But here's why I really love this foot. It's not just for blind hems. In fact, most of the time, I grab it to keep my seams perfectly straight and tidy. It's awesome for rolled hem pin tucks, lace insertion, decorative flat lock straps, and even piecing quilt strips. And if your presser feet collection is growing, I designed the perfect presser foot caddy. It's made right on the serger, and it's the perfect way to keep all your feet organized. I'll link that below, along with all of my patterns and courses where I teach these techniques step by step. The piping foot might be my favorite of all. Yes, it's made for inserting piping, but anything that fits into the groove underneath, like a zipper, can be stitched into a seam with your serger. So what is piping? It's simply cording wrapped in fabric, sewn between two layers. Some manufacturers call this the cording foot, but don't confuse it with other feet made for attaching fishing line, thin cord, or wire. We'll save those for another video. But for this video, since we're focusing on inserting piping, the main thing to check is that your foot has a groove underneath. That's what does the work, no matter what name your manufacturer gave it. On the L460, it's called the multi-purpose foot, and it fits cord up to about 5 millimeters. On the L890, there are 3 piping feet, small for 3 millimeter, large for 5 millimeter, and an adjustable foot called XL for 6 to 10 millimeter cording. You can make piping 2 ways. Create it first, then insert it, or do it all in one step. Here's the 2-step method. Set your serger up to a 3 or 4 thread overlock, stitch length 3 to 4, and width at 6 millimeter. Cut fabric strips 1 3/8 wide for a 1/2 inch seam allowance. With the 5 millimeter cording at 1 inch longer, wrap the strip around the cord, place it in the groove, and stitch the full length to create the piping. Then shorten the stitch length to 2 to 3 and decrease the width to 5 to 5.5 millimeters. Insert the piping in between 2 fabric layers, keeping the cording in the groove, and stitch the seam. And just like that, you've added piping. And the same trick works with zippers. The groove holds the zipper teeth in place as you stitch. Just watch out for the pole and remember that zipper teeth come in different widths. If you'd like to practice zipper insertion, my Hideaway hanger safe pattern is perfect for this, since I showcase 2 different zipper sizes with 2 different techniques. And those are my 3 Desert Island Serger presser feet. And now if you've ever found yourself wondering with your serger, am I doing this right? Well, then this next video will clear up so many things for you. So check it out right here. And until I see you next time, I hope you have a creative day. Bye-bye.